Alright, let's have a look at import 3DM. So it's been quite a while since I have properly looked at the plugin. As we can see, it's been over a year, and obviously that's not a good thing to do. Not tending to your software that you put out there. So I thought I would have a look at where we are at the moment with the plugin, and see if, for instance, I can get it installed in latest Blender. So right now I have here Blender 2, quite old actually, 2.91.0, and I actually noticed that I do not have the plugin installed here. There's no importing possibility here, and when I look at the add-on list, I do not have Rhino import add-on installed, so maybe I'll just start with doing that. Let's see. So let's start by getting the very latest zip file. So I'm on Windows, so I'm going to do for the Windows installer. Actually, I did make one for 293, so maybe I'll just also ensure I get this right away. The current Blender 3.9.6 installer. Actually, I'm not going to use the installer, I'm going to get the zip. So let's save that. Assuming it wants to start loading. I'll just click myself here then. It was not really loading, so let's do that manually. So actually I'll just close the other Blender version, which is already old. I actually tend to start these days my Blender mostly through Steam, but I already changed my Steam version to Blender 3, and I suppose we could have a look at that as well when we get to it, but let's first get started with Blender 2.93.6. What am I doing? Let's see. So I've downloaded it. Let me quickly unblock the zip. And let me copy that in place. And while that is happening, I'll also download this zip file. So that should be fine. It's taking a moment. So I guess this is also a bit of a tutorial on how to install the add-on. First, let's get Blender installed. Okay, let's move this to my portable apps folder. And I guess I'll pin this to my taskbar so it's easy to add. Let's make a shortcut first. So we call that shortcut, we call Blender 2.93.6. Right, and that shortcut we can put on desktop, which is always nice. And then let's pin that one to my taskbar. Pin to taskbar. Let's see, it's still copying all the files, so we'll have to be patient for a moment. Dun, dun. Let's see. In the meantime, I can pull up actually some other information on my other screen. Dun. Oh. Yes, this is almost done. Right, so let's start Blender. Most likely it's starting on the correct monitor, so that's a nice surprise. Right, well, let's see, what do we have? Oh, actually for this one I do have it installed. That's because I had Rhino 293 installed earlier through Steam, and I still installed it there. So actually maybe I'll just remove the add-on and show how I install it. How do I do that? Import export. This one. Let's remove it. Yes. Right, so removed. I assume that went without any problems. Let's see. In the system console. Yeah. I'm not sure whether it's now actually deleted. So I guess I'll just restart Blender and we'll see soon enough. I think I maybe should move to using my pen, because using the trackball gives a bit jerky motion on the screen. Let's see all the import export ones. Right, so it's now removed. So I earlier downloaded the zip file from the GitHub repository, and it's 008 is the current release. So let's install that, and then I'll just go to the downloads folder and scroll down to where I have my zips, and I suppose it's going to be this one. So it's you can see here, import 3DM version 008 for Blender 293 Windows. Just press install, and that should be it, I guess. Yes, and I'll enable it, and it should be just fine. So as a reminder, the importer doesn't handle all data in 3DM files yet. It's just so you know, it's not everything. So what could I do? Let's start Rhino here and make a very simple scene. The simplest I can think of, so probably just a box. Rhino is taking a while to start up. Not sure why actually. Oh, there it is. I was just being impatient. So just let's add a couple of boxes. Just two, so that we know something happened actually. I'm going to save this. Let's save this as import 3DM tester. And actually this is not going to work directly. What I need to do first is ensure that our objects have render meshes. So let's switch to rendered mode. Shaded mode should work as well, but let's use rendered mode for now. So in my Rhino Models Discourse import folder I have now the tester file. Let's switch back to Blender using my pen again. File, import Rhinoceros 3D, and then I have to go to my Discourse folder, and there should be lots of files, but can I here the first one, and it's now all imported. But maybe this is something that for users gets confusing. In Rhino we are often how I use Rhino often is just without template, and then Rhino is on millimeter scale. So let's see. So you can see here in the bottom millimeters, and this means that even though it looks big on this screen, it's actually quite small. And currently import 3DM tries to take into account the scaling, so the unit size of the model. So you can see here we have now our objects in here. I could even use my 3D mouse, I guess. Right, so that works. Next step, let's try to get the plugin running under Blender 3. I guess I'll have to make sure I have my Steam running. It is running. Let's see, Blender. Preparing to launch Blender. And it's of course. Oh, I was going to say it's of course going to open on the wrong display, but it was not. So let's see. We do not have the import 3DM add-in installed yet, so let's check in preferences, add-ons. It took a while to load apparently. Let's just for good measure search for Rhino. Ah yes, that's really old. I've been working on an attempt to get Rhino inside Blender working, but that doesn't really work at the moment, so let's forget about that. Now let's install the plugin and see what is going to happen. I have no idea if this is going to work. I have not been keeping up myself appraised of the Python API updates, so I don't know if it's going to work. Blender is not responding. No, now something happens, so let's see. It's not in there. So I'm going to assume that that is not working at all. Let's see if we can get to the console. So it is installed into that location. Let me pull up that folder just a moment. So that would be app data, I suppose. And that would be roaming, yes, Blender Foundation. So let's look at it in more detail. And that would be, what was it? Under scripts and add-ons. You know, I'm just being really dumb. This is not it's not the importer add-on. I'm just for some reason selecting Rhino, or I mean Blender itself. Let's not do that. That's not smart at all. That's also why it took a moment. Let's see. Hi June, thanks for joining. Let's try that again. Installing, and this time maybe I am able to select the correct package. So import 3DM version 008 Blender 293 for Windows. I guess I assume that it would have been in the same ordering as 293, but I mean, yes, 293, but it was not. So let's see. Now we have the correct one in selected. Is this going to work or not? Oh, at least it shows up, but does it run? We'll see soon enough. At least it loads. Very positive. And then let's try importing a file. Just a moment. I'm such a person of habits that I keep using my trackball. So, and of course this one is not sorted either. So I'll just use the filter then. Import 3DM tester. Good thing that works well. So I select that one and then let's import it. And at least you can see here on the right that we have in the outliner that we have something. Let's see if we can zoom in. I need to practice more using my... Oh, this is... Oh man, these settings are not the same as... Yeah, what a way to get lost, right? These settings are not the same as in my other Rhino. Let's see, can I actually change the settings? I don't want them inverted, and I guess, let's see. This one is still weird. Anyway, but the objects are in, so that's at least a good thing. Oh, and that's not conducive to feeling good. These are still wrong way around, so wait. Invert zoom maybe. And wait, I have to make sure it's... Or maybe I'm used to free, I don't know. Just a moment, I'm sorry about this. I have not used the 3D mouse with Blender lately, at least not in 3. As you can see, my settings are still incorrect. Let's see. Let's still orbit around the center. Hello? Why does this not do anything? Oh wait, instead of just messing around with that, let's just do frame all. I would press home, but I don't have a home button on my keyboard, so let's not use that. So let's go back to Rhino, and I believe I should be able to add object material. Let's do a very simple one. I'm actually not sure what the state of materials is in this respect. So let's see. I'm going to just do two different ways of adding a color. First one is by adding a material, and the second one is by setting object display color. I'm just going to put here green, I guess. Is that working? Maybe not. It's working in the other displays, but not in the rendered mode. I think I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. Just see. I'm going to save it again, and then let's see if when I re-import or import again the same file. So one of the complaints has been that re-importing the same file does not always work as expected. So let's do that. And I got a named view, but our objects are in, so you can see the objects stayed the same here. Named views apparently, oh, what did I do? I dragged something, but the objects are still here, and one material was created for, oh man, excuse me again, for the object. So let's see if I'm now going to add a green material here. Let's do another custom one. I'm using now custom materials because I know that for those importing works a bit better. Work is being done on making sure that we can access all the RDK, Render Development Kit, data properly, also through the Rhino 3DM module, and that's the module that my importer uses to do the importing or reading of the files. So let's import the same file again, and see, the materials should still be there. Let's see if I can check that here. So custom material red, and another custom material green, and they have the names, the name of the objects, or I mean the materials as they were. I'm actually not sure if they get renamed properly when I rename the material. So let's see. What's happening? A green material, yes. Red delight. Some names. Oh, and maybe also see what happens when I actually give names to the objects. This is a long box, and this would be a tinier box. And it's just to look whether these names transmit properly. I don't know yet. It should work, but we'll see. So let's import again the same file, and we can actually see. So what happens? What we do is actually we give the name to the data. So maybe one thing to improve is to give the actual object, the object's the name. June asks if I prefer working while standing or sitting in a chair. Actually, I've been now, let's say, full-time since the corona pandemic started. I've been standing. Well, I've sat in between, of course, but while working, I generally stand. And that's also how I have my keyboard. I have a custom mount so that I have my hands down, so I can relax my arms nicely. Hi Luca, thanks for joining, and I'm glad you like these streams. Let's see how much to code we can do. So right now the most important thing is actually look at where we are at, and I have now verified that installing the importer works in Blender 2.93.6, so the latest stable release, and in Rhino. I keep mixing the two, and in Blender 3, the daily build I believe I am on for in Steam. Let me check. A library. Maybe I can put it here. So my Steam looks like this. Oh man. If my mouse movements look jerky, it's because I'm using a trackball and my thumb is not as nimble as the wrist. I mean, there's less control, but let's see what we have here as properties. Yes, so it's daily 3.0 is what I'm on. Yeah, so I'm on this beta. There are lots of to check from, and these are the things I actually have been working. I was working on also for a while to get this organized. So it's nice to see that still being continued. So the importer itself works, at least with this very simple case here. A bug that I do see here immediately myself is that the named views get all the time re-imported. I mean, as in the collection for named views, and that's probably not a good idea. And something that needs to be done or improved is so the object data is getting the name but not the object itself, and it's probably better to have these names go to be there properly. Let me see. As said at the beginning of this streaming, I haven't looked at this code for in 13 months, which is not very nice of me. Sorry for all the users who have had troubles. I'm getting back into doing this importer code as well. Let's see, what am I actually opening? Okay, so I was yesterday streaming a bit on making a fix in Rhino Cycles code. I don't need that at the moment. Let me... this I can also close. That was also from yesterday. So let me open a better one. Let's open first a new window, I guess. How about that? I have to search for where I have my importer code. Let's see, can I search here? Import. Oh yes, I have it here. I found it already. Like so. Let's not update Visual Studio Code now during the stream. So let's have a quick look at where we are at. Lots of craft I see. I probably should clean out all these builds, but let's see. So for the Windows version, I have decided to bundle the Rhino 3DM module right away, and we are still a bit old on an older version. We are actually already on 7.13, I believe, or 7.12, but at the moment I don't believe we have had big additions to the file format that right now for today we would benefit from, so I'll just leave it at that for now. Our importer, so this file, let's see, maybe not that one, the other one I guess. So here's a list of people who have been working on it. So Joel Putnam, Tom Swilans and Lucas Fertig have all made contributions to the plugin, so big thanks to them. If I can turn on the English subtitles. Yes, if I not know how to do that, I'll look after this stream how to enable that. If it's just a setting to enable for yesterday's stream, then of course I'll add the subtitles for that. I mean, I believe it's going to be done automatically. Haven't really thought of it before, but thanks for reminding me. So as said, the importer needs the render meshes, and that you do by ensuring you have saved the render meshes with your file. It's just switching to rendered mode and then saving, and you should be able to get at least all the objects that have their render meshes on. I have to refamiliarize myself a bit with the code, but there should be, so we have the render mesh part, that's the part that's going to look at the render meshes that are in the 3DM file, and those are for extrusions, meshes and then B-reps, these at least. Well, Rhino 7 now has sub-Ds, but the render meshes for those are not saved. So one thing to do in the near future is to add at least a way to, if it's possible to load the control polygon, then we should do that. But for now, when you want to have a sub-D from Rhino into Blender, I guess you should just manually extract the control polygon and make sure it's a mesh, save that, and then add a sub-D modifier in Blender. So we have now here a new name of the mesh data. I need to try to figure out how we did this. Import render mesh, maybe search for that. So where we add the mesh data to the object. Let's see. I see we're being right. So we have here a dictionary with the Rhino type, and then the converter, or the function that is actually reading the data and returning it. So we have here data, we get mesh data out, or material, or something like that. But let's now just look at the object. So we want to get the name of the object shown in the Blender outliner. Data. So let me see. So we do get some data back. If we did get something, so we had some geometry, and then we have an actual object, and the assumption is that otherwise it would be an instance of an object, so that would be a block instance, I believe. But in this case, I think we need to look at get ID data. So there are actually quite big shortcomings in how this plugin has organically grown over time. So what needs to happen is at some point make sure that there's better separation between from what a function is doing. So this one is doing a little bit too much, I believe. Yeah, so it's getting ID data. So the idea here was that on Blender data we would tag our own custom properties. So like RHID, the Rhino ID, the UID of a Rhino object, and a Rhino name, RH name. But this function, it's not clear enough that as in when it's used, whether you're just getting the data or what's actually happening. So it's a bit too much magic without proper documentation. It looks like here. So we didn't find anything already there. So we don't have a found item. We have something new. Then the name of the object. Well, it's interesting because it should be, if I now understand, I'm reading this correctly, it should already do set the name of the object. So maybe that's just going wrong. Let's see, read 3DM. Wait, where were render mesh, I guess. Also, where the code is in the different places is a bit confusing. Oh, I'm just looking at the wrong places, you know. Not good. I have the different versions around, laying around, so it's looking now from a folder I created to zip as the add-on to release. So this is under converters. So not this init file. Let's pick the correct one, and not this one either. Let's close that one. This one. So to objects, we add either search existing data or with the ID and name, or at least the ID. And if it's new stuff, then we want to add it. We still don't get that, so it's under utils. So base is context. Let's move it a bit here. Oh, what did I do? I double clicked. I keep forgetting about that. So blend data objects is the objects database of Blender. We pass in the GUID and the name. GUID and the name. And then the object data, which is the mesh. Let's see. So we did not find an item. We have something new. we create a new object with the name set here. I'm going to peek at the Blender documentation. Just a moment, I'm going to pull it up. If I can remember where it actually is. Blender.org, I guess. Oh, manual. Just a moment, I'll pull it up in a moment. And I guess we want to pick the one for, oh, not that one, that one. And then we want to go to advanced, I believe, scripting and extending. I want to get to the API. Which is I don't know. Let's see. Blender Python API, that's the one I want. And then we were under Blender data objects. So this one, blend data, and onto objects. Which is a type of blend data objects. Well, this is interesting because we do give the data the name of the object. So let's look at our code again. And I also actually should look into getting this set up again for the Blender development part. So maybe let's do that first. Blender. Yeah, Blender start, I guess. And let's add new executable. And actually not sure where it is installed at the moment, so let's ask Blender itself using the scripting part console. That would be, I think, BPY app binary path. So let's use that. It's under Steam apps, common Blender, Blender XC. So that would be Steam. Oh, that's not an M. Steam apps, common Blender. Let's first go there, and then Blender. Let's see if this is going to work or not. I'm not sure. Oh, and of course I wanted to set a breakpoint, so let's put the breakpoint here. I have not used this in a long time, so that's why we're getting some setup here. Fingers crossed that this is going to work. What happened? Access denied. Well, that's less useful for me. What is this doing? Right, so to be able to do this kind of debugging, I suppose I should now first close Blender, mainly because the Rhino 3DM module is a C Python. So it's a C module implemented in C++. So we can't remove that when you're trying to debug. So let's try that again. Control Shift and P for the palette, and then Blender Start, and then we pick this one. I'm going to name those a bit better. These paths I don't really like, they're so long. It's still there. Huh. I guess I'm going to remove it by hand. I'm using the power. What shall I do? I'll just do it like this, I guess. No, wait. What am I moving? It wants to remove script add-ons, import 3DM. Not sure why it doesn't want to remove that, so let's do it by hand for now. And then Control Shift P again, Blender Start. So if you're wondering how I am doing this, I'm using a plugin by Jacques-Luc, Blender Development, which indeed makes it quite nice to debug scripts in Blender. I actually don't know if there has been updates to this recently, so let's just hope it all works. Or if there has been any necessary need for that to do that. Let's see. Well, at least Blender now stays open for a bit longer. There we are. And are we enabled? Let's see. Import Rhino 3DM. Let's import the one we have been importing with before. Oh, in the wrong folder, of course. And then import. So it was the import 3DM tester. Let's see. Oh, let's first check if our breakpoint is actually there. Yes, it's there. So now let's hit import. What happened? It says line 145. Non-type has no attribute settings. Right. Let's see. Oh, maybe. So this one is linked. I would assume that it's now loading this one. Is it not? I would hope so. Oh, the error message already went away. So there was on line 145. I believe it was this one. No. Let's look again. What was 145? Huh. I'm just going to ignore this for a moment, because this is not what I want to debug. Let's just put in skill 1, 0, and assume this is not a bad thing. I suppose we could do reload, but I'm more comfortable just actually starting Blender again. I don't know, I've always had a hard time trusting tools that auto-load code. My code often has side effects, which is of course not always nice, but it happens. and then it's better to just start from a clean sheet and then figure out from there instead of wondering later on what happened. Actually, let's oh man, this is going to be hard, I guess. So it's still the correct location, but I have to say I'm not sure why it's now not seeing the tables of the document. So this is going to be, so it's line what, 109. Let's see of convert material. So I think it's something with the setup of this bit, how it's done, as in the debugging tool chain. That's now different from when having just installed the add-on directly in Blender and use that, because that worked, as we have seen. What was I going to look at? The material importer. Okay, let's do that. Line 109. So indeed it's, so model is the Rhino file that's been loaded, and materials is the materials table. And for some reason model is not correct. So wait, the error message is that model is non-type. Let's see that again. Discourse import. Yeah, so non-type object has no attribute materials. That means that for some reason reading that 3DM file did not go all too well, because our model is none, and that's of course far from ideal when you're trying to read a Rhino file. So where do we do that? Here. So let's put a breakpoint here and do that again. File, import 3DM, and it's the import tester file. And we have hit a breakpoint. So our file path is going to be, let's stop one forward. Our file path is correct, or was that maybe the problem? Well, we'll see. Model now is something. So I actually think what I already did wrong. So when I selected the file in the file browser, I selected it, but the last time I did that, I noticed that I had to click twice to have it actually also appear in the name part. So that was a good waste of time, I guess. But our update here is, so we are now doing the materials, that's fine. And it is material red delight, good. And then we're going to get agree material. So we're now reading the materials. As you can see, we're executing the import operator. It's now reading the 3DM, and we are handling materials, and we get agree material. So it's the second material. Now we get the layers. First we have the default layer. I'm actually not sure what layers I have in there. Probably only the default layer. And now we get our first mesh data. So our object data is from PPY data meshes. So the meshes database, TinyAirBox, and this is our UID. TinyAirBox is the name. So now we want to see what's going to happen in the next step. So this one is going to create our object. Let's see the item. It has now the name TinyAirBox. So let's continue now for now and see what we have in Blender. So now it's correct. I'm actually not sure why it was object and object 001 before. And the named views part that I mentioned earlier is actually not necessarily a bug, or maybe it is. But if we do this again, so when I the first few times that we were looking at when I was wondering why does the reading not succeed, was that the name was here not properly selected. I had clicked here, but this had stayed empty, and I had to click again to make sure that this was properly done. Not sure if that's a bug in Blender or not, but back to the views, the name views. So this one was selected, and when this is selected, I guess it's going to always add a named views collection. So let's see if that's going to happen. No. Oh wait, yes, of course we are broken into the code, so let's disable these breakpoints actually. This one and this one. Let's continue. Right, so we have now named views once, and we run this again. Maybe look at the code where we are doing the named views. I guess it's called named views, or maybe it was named views as one. Yeah. So I guess we have to handle in handle views. Do we have it here? No. Handle views. Let's look for that. We have to ensure we don't add one if it's already in there. Am I in the correct one? Yes. So yes, here I have to first look if there already one exists. So let's stop this here now, and actually I like to close Blender. We'll start it in a moment. Let me check again documentation a bit. So we want the collections. So that would be, I guess, Blender data collections, I would guess. Does that exist? Enter again. Oh wait, of course not. Data collections. Not sure if that exists, but we'll see soon enough. It does. I want to find, what is this? We have so I guess this is going to be just your regular dictionary access, I guess. So how did we do it elsewhere? I'm a bit rusty in this respect, so yeah, we're going to do this. So if layer name in context blend data collections, if it does exist, we are going to use that. View layer is context blend data collections, square brackets, and then layer name. And otherwise we add the new one. So now let's try this one. Ctrl Shift P, Blender start, and then let's use the correct one. And let's import a 3DM file from my discourse folder. Okay, so what happened was I clicked once here and it did not select it right away, and I had to click again. Now it's selected. Make sure it's named is on. Right, we have named views once. Now we do it again, and we should not see named views .001 appear. I'm not going to trust this selection here, so just make sure it's actually selected. Again, named is on. What happened? Line 79. I probably should have read the rest of the function. Oh, okay, so let's add here collection already exists. Oh, collection is new. So collection is new is I set it to false by default, and if we get into this else block, then we do collection is new equals true, and then it's going to be this one, right? So over here, I'm not sure I was doing that much. Oh man, I'm messing around with my delete key, I see. So if collection is new, oh, that's not a colon, only then we add link this layer, because we can't link this layer to the layer that has been added here. So let's do this again. I'm going to close Blender. I'm closing Blender also because Rhino 3DM can't be reloaded. So I save this. Blender start. I gotta tell you, it's fun looking at this code again, and I have to jog my memory quite a bit after not writing regularly Blender code, as in add-on code, for a year. Naughty me. But then again, this is how it works for me. Import. Again, I'm going to click now here, and that's going to remove the focus that was in this search box away. So I think now I've selected it, but I actually haven't. So I have to now select again, click again. Now it's actually selected. Named is on. I suppose we could consider that a bug, but I suppose that's how text input fields in Blender work anyway. So named views once in there. Now let's do this again. Import Rhino file. Import. So if I press enter, that's I guess the expected way for Blender users to do that. And now no errors here, no exceptions, and no double named views. I think that's quite good. This is a very simple, tiny fix. I think I'm going to commit that in a moment and then make a tiny release 00.9, and after that I'll go through, or maybe you can do that right now, look a bit at the current open issues we have. There are 20. Doesn't install in Blender 293.6. let's see. That's right here. I have just now installed version 0.0.8 in Blender 2.93.6 and Blender 3.0 daily. On Windows, and it worked just fine, as we saw, and it worked just fine. Can you maybe explain a bit more what errors you see and what operating system you are using? I do have a Linux machine, but it's not here. I can VNC into it. I might later check this. M1 support, not in the near future, but once we get M1 builds of the Rhino 3DM package, we'll be able to use it on such hardware. I do have actually an M1 laptop here. I'll leave it open for now because it's not handled yet. Import 3DM does not handle Rhino files with blocks linked to separate files. Alright. That means I'll have to take a look at updating the latest Rhino 3DM. So it's actually quite nice that we have a user who already looked at this already half a year ago, so I should have looked at it back then, I guess. Rhino 3DM and have it work and have it tested. And I'll be doing that probably in one of the next streams for this add-on. So I'll try to do more of this work just online, so people can see how I do this. Import 3DM messy. Close policies not import as closed. Right, so this all depends on how the objects are meshed by Rhino. So we really rely on the render meshes created by Rhino, and Rhino does not always create useful meshes in all cases. The measure often creates mesh patches that are not properly closed or welded in Rhino terminology. Meshes, let's not put in the word patches there, create meshes. Oh, I'm pressing some weird button, I guess. On my other screen something popped up, which I was not expecting. But so it's important to ensure that, I mean, we can't ensure anything when we are reading in the files that Rhino has created. So we just show what Rhino creates. And some work on meshing is going to happen probably for V8, mainly as part of UV editing improvements in Rhino 8. But we'll see. For the importer, we are relying on what Rhino writes in the file. Right. I guess for now that's going to be enough. There are more issues open there, but for now this is going to be the end of this stream. As said, I'll package version V009 with the fix to name views being duplicated. There are more issues clearly, and also not just in buggy behavior, but just the code architecture. And one of my biggest problems is that we did not a good job of documenting the code, so I don't always remember right away why I decided to do things the way they are done at the moment. So one of the other goals is to rewrite the plugin also with my literate programming extension, but we'll see. For now, thanks to all for joining, and have a great day.